Hi everyone, welcome back to the Reclaimed Ranch. My name is Tara and I am excited for today's video because it's the September Maker's Box from Sonnet's Garden Blooms. And so this is like my favorite Happy Mail ever. Like every month I cannot wait to get my new box because inside I get all kinds of different products that I haven't usually used, and there's exclusive decoupage papers from Roycycled Treasures and from the Painted Photographer. So this month absolutely did not disappoint. I was so excited when I opened it up. It's called the Autumn Masterboard from Roycycled Treasures. And she also did an autumn flannel. And this sample is the Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in Willow. It's a really light kind of minty green color. And then we have Fusion's Woodwick. And on our card it says that we were supposed to get Soapstone, but I think we accidentally got Seaside, but that's okay. And then for the DIY paints we had Farm Fresh and then Orange Crush. And I love how everything goes together in the box with the papers and the paint colors. And then every month we get something new from Sonnet, a little trinket, little treasure, something different, a little gift. And she created these, you guys. It says, have courage and create. She hand stamped over 300 of these bracelets, which is absolutely amazing. And super sweet, I thought. So this is the Autumn Masterboard. So I know everybody sees these videos and they're like, where can we get the papers? Well, the only way to get the papers is to have a subscription to these boxes. So I will leave a link in my description on how you can get on the wait list. She just reopened it right before this September box came out and added some more spaces, but I think they filled up like super quick. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and just click on the link that I'll have in my description box and get on that wait list. I don't know when she's going to reopen it to add more. And so, but sometimes people only want a couple boxes and end up stopping their subscription. So then it opens up some room for others to enjoy. So this is the gorgeous Autumn Masterboard. It had so many cool things. And then this is called Autumn Flannel. And I thought that was really cool too. Nice backdrop. And then Connie from the Painted Photographer has these cute little, this one's called Pumpkin Patch. And so she draws out these images and then uses DIY paint to paint them. And then she does her signature Connie lines on them. And so we get a couple different sizes there. And then it is called, let's see, Autumn Light. This cool lantern. I thought that was super cute too. And so, yeah, it's just so fun to get these different papers and inspiration. And Sonnet always has on this little card, it says scan me with the QR code, where you can watch her video on what she made with these products. And then she always does a launch every month with a creative team, and we all send our videos in, and so she'll have a playlist. So that'll give you a lot of fun ideas on what you can do. And then this month we got these cute little decoupage napkins, this Highland Cow I absolutely fell in love with. And then this cute napkin with some pumpkins and florals. Thought was super pretty. So I'll probably decoupage a pumpkin with that. And so my first project, I have a new mold from Redesign with Prima. It's pumpkins and leaves, you guys. And look at the detail on the pumpkins. It's so pretty. I love it. So I'm still working on getting that on my website, but my husband and I are going away for our anniversary this weekend to Denver, Colorado to watch my Broncos beat his Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't tell him I said that. So anyway, I'll hopefully get them up the first part of next week. So I'm going to go ahead and make some molds using the casting resin. And it's just a part A, part B. You use the same amount on each, put them together, and then stir them for about 10 seconds. And this stuff works really fast. So you got to work kind of quickly, but you'll see it gets cloudy and then it'll clear up again. And then you know it's ready to pour. So once it's clear, go ahead and pour, and then within 10 minutes, they are ready to be taken out. And you'll see in this video, it's sped up just a tiny bit, but they start actually curing right away. So you want to work quick. But I always make sure to wear gloves while using any kind of epoxy resin. You just want to be safe and not have any chemicals on your hands and things like that. So see, it's already turning white. It works quick because it heats up fast. So I'm going to set that aside, and then I have just a tiny little canvas. I'm not sure. I think it's bigger than a 5x7, but I don't know the exact height. But I want to go ahead and put this flannel, autumn flannel, in the background. So we're going to decoupage that on the back, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the soapstone that was supposed to be in our box. It's kind of a darker gray tone, but it really matches well with that flannel decoupage paper. So I'm just going to do the sides because I don't want to have to bring the paper all the way around the sides. I'm going to do the sides up, let that sit for a minute, and then we'll decoupage the top with the flannel. And then we're going to make a little pumpkin patch. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Fusions Decoupage Transfer Gel, and we're going to do the starter strip and just take a little section, put that transfer gel down, and then take my brush, and I have leftover gel on there, so I'm just using that to kind of push it down and get those air bubbles out. Usually on some big pieces, I like to use my spray bottle, my mister, and I think I do it in just a few minutes. I think I was like, oh, I don't think I need it, but it does help a little bit. Makes it a little bit more easier to work with the paper. You still want to be real careful though, because with the decoupage paper, it can tear. So I'm just going real light, trying to get those air bubbles out. And then I always end up using my heat gun to help remove any of the excess air bubbles after placing that decoupage gel on the top. So there I am, finally misting it. Giving up the fight. So yeah, I'm gonna just kind of heat those little spots, and you can see those wrinkles just disappear. That's what I love about the heat gun. You don't want to heat it too much because it can actually burn. But so now I'm going to remove these little molds here, and look at how pretty these pumpkins are. They're so pretty with that detail in there. So I was thinking, because it has a bunch of detail, I'm going to go ahead and paint them, but I'm going to do the flower technique like I did on my, I think it was 2 videos ago. I did a pumpkin and I painted it and then put flour on it to make it look like the terracotta look. So I'm going to do that to these pumpkins. I'm going to paint one in the soapstone, one in the orange crush, and one in the farm fresh. And then I'm going to use flour while it's still wet to put all over the pumpkin. And then once I think that the paint is dry, I'm going to go ahead and remove the excess flour just with a normal paintbrush, or a chippy brush, I should say. But I make sure to like totally cover the pumpkin. Nothing is going to be left behind, no open spots. But yeah, so I love this orange crush color. It's DIY paint and it's clay-based paint, so it's all natural products. And so beautiful fall color for orange. Love it. That's like one of my favorites for fall. And then the Farm Fresh is a really pretty, kind of a light teal, green-blue color, which is pretty popular in some of the pumpkins for fall too. So I think that this just turned out super cute, and I am going to be using my handy dandy Tight Bond Quick and Thick glue to glue these onto the canvas. And then I'm also going to stamp the words pumpkin patch on the top part of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Fusions called Carriage House. It's a really pretty green color. And I'm going to go in and paint all these leaves with that color. And I think I forgot to tape the next step I did on the leaves. I used the DIY white wax and I put it all over and then wiped it back. That way you can see all the really pretty details in the leaves before putting that on the top part of the canvas. And so after this step, I am going to go ahead and, because that decoupage paper is dry, I'm going to go ahead and use my little sander, my little hand sander there, and just pull down. I think it's got an 80 grit on there, so I don't want to do it too hard. Just do it nice and light, but I'm going to go downward motion, and that's going to remove that excess paper on there. Gives it a nice clean edge. And here's that Type Bond, and I do have an affiliate link in my description box if you want to buy that from Amazon. I would appreciate it if you use that link because it does supply me a little bit of funding so that I can continue these videos. And so we're just going to glue these on. You always arrange however you want. And I just thought putting the bigger one in the front and center and then kind of overlapping that little one to the right was kind of cute. So, and then up in that right hand corner is where I'm going to stamp the words pumpkin patch. And because it's so little, I'm going to go in with my apothecary labels from IOD, and they have really small letters, which I love. I use this all the time. And I'm using the black ink, but it came out pretty light, and so what I'm doing is I'm just going to put it on there. I mean, you can kind of see it, but I am going to go in with a paint marker that I bought from Walmart and just go over those letters so that it pops just a little bit more and it's a little bit easier to see. But yeah, I think this little guy just turned out cute. You can hang it because it's a canvas. You can lean it up against some pumpkins. And so this is the fine tip paint marker that I got from Walmart. And this next project, I got this butterfly canvas or burlap canvas. It was about 2 summers ago. And so it's been sitting down in my basement. So I thought I'd bring this up, and I'm putting on Fusion's Little Whale, which is a very pale blue. Really, really, I mean, it looks white here, but there is a little blue hint to it. And I'm just going to put one coat on because we're going to be decoupaging that lantern there onto this. And so I just need just a light base underneath. I kind of wanted it to be the rough colors like it had been before on the edges. So I'm not going to completely cover it all, but we're going to go ahead and rip the edges off, get that white off of there, and then do the same method as I did before with my decoupage. I'm going to do a starter strip and then work my way down. And then once that's on there, we're going to go and kind of blend just a little bit. I didn't go overboard on blending. I mean, I could have done probably a little bit more just so that you didn't really see the edges, but I liked how it was looking, so I stopped where I was. And so now I'm going to go in, and I am going to be using the mister more this time. So I just make a starter strip, use the mister. I don't completely soak it. I just do a tiny bit, and then it makes it a little bit easier to work with when you're trying to get those air bubbles out. You just work from the middle kind of out to the sides and down, And for the most part, I had absolutely no wrinkles. And whatever wrinkles I did have, my heat gun would get those out. So, makes it kind of nice. And then I was sitting there thinking, okay, well, what else am I going to do with this picture? I'm going to blend in, the sides a little bit. And then I thought, the perfect saying for this would be the light. So I did stamp be the light on the top part there. And this project 3 is going to be 2 of these oval wood plaques, and I'm going to go in with the Farm Fresh, and I'm going to go on the edges on both of them. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix up some of that Sweet Pickins milk paint in that willow color, that kind of minty light green. And then once I put that color over the top of this Farm Fresh, I'm going to use my heat gun, and that's going to make it crackle and kind of chip away, and then you'll see that pretty blue color underneath. So if you've never used milk paint, it's super easy. You just use the same part dry as you do wet, and you mix it together really well. Let it sit for about 10 minutes, and it thickens up just a little bit. And then you paint it on, and you can let it naturally dry, or if you want it to really chip and crackle, you'll want to use heat on it, which I always do. That's like my favorite type of look, is the old crackling, like it's been sitting out in the weather for a long, long time. I love that look. So, but yeah, I did, this mint color was a little bright, so on one of the decoupages, I did kind of go onto that and blend it out onto the actual frame part there, but one of them it fit just perfect, so I left it that color. And on one of them I'm doing that Highland cow, and then the other we are going to use Connie's little pumpkin patch design on there, and I made it kind of more of a moody color on the pumpkin patch, which I thought turned out really cool. There is one spot on the top, I'm not sure if I want to put anything on it yet, but I'm kind of going back and forth with the idea of adding something a little bit. I didn't want to put a saying because I've got a lot of sayings in this video already, but we'll see what I come up with. So here I'm adding some Fusion's Tough Coat in matte in order to stop. I did get quite a bit of chipping and crackle, and I loved it, so I wanted it to not continue. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple coats of this on just to keep it from doing any more chipping and cracking. And so I'm going to let that dry, and then of course when we decoupage we want a light base, and so I'm just using some Fusion in the color Casement just to give me a base in the backdrop so that my colors pop really well. And this would have helped if I would have had a bigger paintbrush. I'm using a little tiny artist brush because my brushes are dirty. So little note, just to make sure you clean your brushes after every use instead of leaving them for a couple of days. Anyway, so after I get this done, I'm only putting one coat on, and it dries, of course, really quick with my heat gun. So then we're going to go in with the Highland cow. I love that picture with the barnwood and the backdrop and the colors. I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. And Sonnet knows. She knows I'm a cowgirl, and this was just perfect. So of course it doesn't fit completely, but we are just going to work with it and blend it out. I wish the horn on this left side was a little bit longer, but that's okay. So I kind of had to put it more towards the side as if it was kind of peeking around the corner a little bit, but it was still fun. Okay, so here's my favorite part, is the blending in. And so I am going in with that Farm Fresh color. It's a little bit darker than the color on that barnwood, but that's okay. And we're going to just kind of blend it in through the sides and the corners and the bottom and the top. And then we're also going to be adding in some of that Summer Crush, that orange color, because in the actual Highland Cow there is some orange tones. And so I think it actually works pretty well with the cow itself. So I think it turned out really cute. You'll have to let me know what you guys think in the comments. So as I was doing that orange color, I was thinking, what am I going to put on the top and the bottom? And then I remembered IOD has that barnwood plank stamp, and this is my first time using it, so you always want to season your stamps whenever you use them for the first time. You just rough it up with a little bit of sandpaper, and that just makes it so that it'll take the ink nicely onto your projects. And so it almost fit like perfect. And see how dark it is there? But all I do is, instead of restamping, I just used it again, and it had the perfect lightness. And then I'm just going to use my baby wipe and go in and just lighten it up a little bit so that it really kind of matches that napkin part of it. And this turned out super awesome. It was almost like perfect to a T. And so this next one we're going to do is the little pumpkins. And again, we're going to remove the white, and you can do the dry tear or the wet tear. Either or works just fine. And again, this is going to have a lot of room, but see, it already has kind of moody colors in it, and so I want to kind of stick with that theme. And this is the one where I add a little bit of color to that mint frame because it's just too bright. Kind of doesn't go as well as I thought it would. So I end up using some soapstone from Fusion on the bottom, and I kind of put that a little bit around the frame, and then I use also a little bit of Woodwick in there from Fusion. And then from the DIY, I used that Farm Fresh. And here around the sides, I'm just taking a baby wipe and getting most of that soapstone out of there, just so that it's just a lighter color, kind of going up around the pumpkins. And then I'm also going to be using that Farm Fresh from DIY up on the top. That's going to pull in some of that blue. And then I pulled a couple of lighter Fusion colors, blue colors, just to mix in with the top. And then whatever was left around on my brush, I just went around the rim there of that mint and just kind of put some on there and toned that color down a little bit, and it turned out great. Okay, so this final project is my favorite. I found this box at a thrift store, loved it. The varnish was coming off, it's all beat up and caught my eye and I was like, I have to have this. I love like all of the corners on it and stuff, and I opened it up and it's a wood whittler's box, you guys. How cool is this? Like it even has some stuff that they were working on, and I thought that was cool. And then the front drops down and you have a drawer and then a space underneath the drawer to hold whatever pieces of wood you need or whatever. So thought that was so cool. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this leather handle off, and I am going to use Roy Cycle Treasures Autumn Masterboard all over this box and kind of make it into a guy thing. Even though there are women whittlers out there, I went to the fair this past weekend and saw them actually working and talked to them about their craft and thought that was really cool. But I think this is just screaming a man's box to me. So I'm just going to get some of that varnish that's falling off. I'm going to take my little sander, kind of hit those areas, and then just give it an all-around little bit of a sand to have that paint adhere really well to it. And I went in with my DIY White Swan, and of course I had some bleed through. So we're going to go in with DIY Salvation Solution in the color white. And we're going to do 2 coats on all the parts that we're going to decoupage. So this is the front board where it flips down and reveals the drawers. And so there's a really cool deer image that I want to put on this one. And then once I open this up, I'll show you. It's that bottom one there. So I'm going to kind of just, of course, it's not going to work all the way around. So I'm going to take that plaid, autumn plaid, and put it behind all of my decoupage pieces except the very top. And that just kind of gives it a nice background. Now, typically, after I get this on, I would want to paint the backside of my deer so that it pops against that plaid, but I actually wanted it to come through because if you look at the paper on the top, on the left of that deer, it's got the same kind of plaid underneath, and I thought that was so cool. So we're going to kind of take that same concept and just put the deer right on top of the plaid, and you'll kind of be able to see it coming through the back, which is actually a really cool thing. So we're going to go ahead and use my little artist brush and water, and we're going to cut him out, and then we're going to decoupage him onto that plaid. And of course it's too tall, so I had to remove some of the tree, but that's okay. You always want to save your bigger pieces of decoupage because you can either make a new piece of decoupage paper or you can use bits and pieces in other areas. So never throw those away because you never know when you're going to use them. Just get a little Ziploc baggie and stick those in. So you see how it's kind of like you can see the background coming through. I just think that's kind of cool. Gives it more of like an autumn vibe or a wintry vibe. Getting that crisp autumn air, and the deer are starting to get, antsy about going into the rutting season and hunting season and all that. So we're just going to put him right on top of there, let that dry, and then I'm going to use my little hand sander to remove the excess around the wood, and then that one's done. So this is the top. I had already decoupaged it on. I didn't want to show you every single step the same over and over again because that's basically all we're doing this video is decoupaging. But I thought this was a really cool piece for the top. It's got the birds flying with the sun in the background and like the grass on the bottom. So this is one of the sides, and we're going to use the plaid on this one, and it's got a really cool owl that I want to put on this side. So same thing, you're just going to do your starter strip and work your way down. And I always use my heat gun and make sure that they're pretty dry before decoupaging on top, because I'm afraid that if you leave it a little bit wet that it'll tear the paper underneath. So Definitely want to make sure it's dry before moving on to your next step. And again, I did not paint the back side of the owl. I just want it to kind of blend into that plaid background. There he is there. I think that's so cool. Royce is just amazing. She's such an awesome creator with all the images that she gets and ideas, and I just love her papers. So same thing, we're just going to let this dry, and then I'll use my little hand sander again to remove the excess. And then the other side, I'm doing the same plaid background, but we've got a deer and some like postal stamps that we're going to do. All right, so here's that next one. Now this deer looks a little bit Christmassy to me, but I thought it was better because the other parts were like roses and butterflies and birds, and I was like, this is probably the most manly out of all of them, so we're going to go with this. It still turned out really cool, but so I did end up cutting out one of the birds, and then I put that up in the top corner, and then another postal stamp in the left corner. Called it good. And then the rest of the box, I painted the soapstone color from Fusion. It was just a color that matched pretty much everything I put on as far as the decoupage goes. So, like the rim of the top, I did, and the back and the bottom. I did all in soapstone. So, it's got a complete makeover. And I hope somebody uses it as a whittler's box. I think it's super cool. And then here I'm just using my X-Acto knife to remove from those little pieces of hardware. And you can see some of the paint still underneath, but I just end up taking an artist brush and some of the soapstone color and then a little bit of water and kind of just blending it out from that piece of metal up into the plaid, and it looks pretty natural. Hope that all makes sense. You'll see what I mean. All right, here they are in all their glory. I thought this guy turned out really cute. And you can see that white wax on the leaves really brings out that detail. And so let me know what your guys' favorite is. Mine's definitely the wood box. That just hit it out of the park for me this week. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will be back on Tuesday with hopefully some more Christmas ideas for you guys. And take care, and we'll see you then. Bye.